Hi guys, it's Annie. Welcome back to Bloom TV. Today I am here to do my February 2015 book haul, and I only brought 15 books this month, but about 7 of them were actually second-hand books, which is really good. And I have been trying to minimise my TBR, as you guys all know, and this isn't too bad, and a lot of these were books I've been wanting for a while, so let's just get into it. And the first book I'm going to show you is the gift that I got this from, this month even, and it is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a classic book which I am really ashamed to say I haven't read. A lot of people who live in America read this in high school as required reading when they're really young, I think at like the beginning of high school, and I've never read it, and it's like such an important book, and I feel like with the sequel, which is slightly controversial, coming out this year, I should finally just get to reading it. I've been meaning to read it for a while. It's one of my teachers, or my old English teacher's favourite books, and I really love this edition. This is a present from my mum, and it's like the vintage classics edition. It has these really gorgeous red spines, so it'll match my other classics that I have in this edition, and I'm just so glad I'll read it, and I'll be definitely reading this some year, probably before I go to university in September. And the next 5 books I have are all from a library book sale, and my local library is one that I know really well. I've always been going there since I moved here when I was 10, and I know quite a lot of the staff there that work there now, like really well, and I did my work experience there, and like I just know it really well. Even it's a really small like town library that like serves all the villages around my town as well. But anyway, they were having a like library book sale, and it was, we could get a jute bag, like a small jute bag, and fill it all with books, and you only had to pay £4, or you could just like buy 1 or 2 and like individually. And so me and my mum went and decided to like share a bag because there wasn't a lot of books left. It was like towards the end of the sale, so we just shared a bag and bought some books for like us, and like also I bought one for my friend as well, but I got 5, and the first one I got was Living Dolls, The Return of Sexism by Natasha Walter. When I saw this I was so excited because this has been on my Amazon wish list, which I literally just use to mark books I want to read. I don't buy them through that site usually. It's been on there for such a long time because I find it really intriguing. This is basically a feminist book, as if you couldn't already tell from the title, and it's about like women in the media and just kind of beauty expectations, I think. I haven't really read very much of it, but it's really short, and it's got this amazing like back is like bright pink, and I just really love this cover. I think it's so like, I don't know, it just really amuses me, and I'll hopefully read this soon. I think it's like 250 pages. Yeah, it's under 250 pages because it's got quite a lot of notes at the back. So I'll hopefully be reading this soon, and I really am interested in this. I'm not sure how much I'm going to agree with what are the things. When I started reading a little bit of it, and I was kind of a bit unsure about how much I was going to agree with everything that's written in here, but I will definitely have something to say about this, so when I read it I'll obviously include it in my wrap-up. And then I also got another book on feminism, but it's more of a textbook, and this is The Future of Feminism by Sylvia Walby. I think this is a textbook. It's quite dry, like on the inside. It's not really chapters, there's just lots of things on like different things. This must be like a university textbook, or someone that's doing like sociology A-level maybe, because it's very like written in that style. So I'm not sure when I'm going to get around to reading this, but it seemed really interesting, and I just want to read a lot of books on feminism, and just read a lot of different things within that kind of genre of non-fiction. So this is one of them, and also I really love the cover, and the spine is like bright blue, and quite a lot of like my books on feminism have this like same blue colour on the spine, so yay. But I don't know how soon I'll be reading that because the writing style is pretty dry. And then moving on to the 3 fiction books I got. The first one is Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend by Jenny Colgan, and Jenny Colgan is a British author who writes chick lit, and she's probably like my favourite chick lit author. I don't read a lot of chick lit, but when I do, I always go for Jenny Colgan books. She wrote my like favourite chick lit book of all time, which is The Little Chocolate Shop in Paris, or The Little Paris Chocolate Shop. I can't remember the title exactly, and I don't have it here with me. But I just saw this and I wanted to get enough books for my money's worth. This is in awful condition, like literally. Most of these books were in like really bad condition, which is why they were withdrawn from stock. So if I read this, I don't like really keep these books, so I don't really reread stuff like this. So I'll probably just get rid of this, give it to a charity shop after I've read it. But I wanted to have it, like, because I do read books like this occasionally, and if I'm going to read stuff like this, I read Jenny Colgan. So yes, and this is one of her earlier ones, I think, and I haven't read it yet. And then the next book I got was by an author I've actually read before, but I only realised recently after I bought it, and it is Snake Ropes by Jess Richards. This is her debut novel, and the cover is so gorgeous. It's got this like really beautiful like design on it, and like it's slightly beaten up, and then the back is kind of like this, and it's just one of those like hardbacks with no dust jacket. It's not in great condition, but I really like it. I don't really know much what this is about, other than there's an island and boys are disappearing, and there's like some sort of secret going on, and it's kind of a mystery, but it's kind of literary fiction at the same time. I've read Cooking with Bones, which is Jess Richards' second novel, and I really enjoyed it. I do own it, it's just at my dad's house. I also got it from the library, but then I bought a copy because I enjoyed it so much. And I don't read a lot of adult fiction, but I think Jess Richards has a really beautiful writing style, and she just writes settings really vividly, and I think I'll really enjoy this. And the cover is, I just can't get over how beautiful this cover is. And the last book that I brought from the library was one that I've already read, and I actually read this from the library, so this is the edition that I read, but now I've bought it, and it is Bitter Blue by Kristen Cashore. This is the third and final book in the Graceling Realm Companion Trilogy, which is a YA high fantasy trilogy, and it's one of my favourite YA series and high fantasy series ever. I read all of them from the library last year, because I started off reading it as like a buddy read, and then I just flew through all of them, and this is the third book, and it is such a hardcover book, especially in this like really tall hardback edition, and I just love this series. It's basically set in this kingdom. The first book, Gracing, is set in a kingdom where there are people who are called Gracings who have special skills, and it could be anything. Like, you could be able to run like abnormally fast or just cook really well. They can be really random, and people who are Gracings have 2 different coloured eyes, and in some kingdoms they're accepted, and some kingdoms they're manipulated, and in some kingdoms they're really hated, and it's just kind of about that, and each book follows a different character over different time periods, but all in the same kingdom, and this is the final one. So obviously I'm not going to give you a synopsis for this final book, but I really enjoy this series. I think it's so amazing. Kristen Cashore is a brilliant writer. I actually don't own any of them, and I wanted to kind of like not own them. I was trying to think of a word then. I'm trying to like buy them all so that I own them, and I saw that this was there, and even though it's in hardback, it's now been released in paperback in the UK, so, and it is in a bit of a messy condition, but I really love the hardback because I think it's so nice, and it has these, I'm not sure if the paperback has all these amazing illustrations in it, and this is the only book in the series to have those illustrations, so I'll probably keep this. But I'm going to buy the others in paperback as well. Like, I'll probably end up buying the third one, Bitter Blue, in paperback as well, just so I have a matching set, but I might still keep this because that's how my brain works. But I wanted to just have it, even though I didn't own the first 2. And then now I'm moving on to the books that I brought new, and the first one I bought is 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This definitely wins the prize for the most amazing cover. I mean, I guess you guys have already all seen this, but I just think it's so beautiful, and even the back is gorgeous as well. And this is a new release that came out last year, at the end of last year, between September and November, I believe, and it's about a young girl called Marguerite whose parents are amazing physicists, and they basically have they had a theory about that we don't live in a universe, we live in a multiverse, so that we live in layered dimensions, and they've just built a contraption which will allow you to travel through those dimensions, but it wasn't tested. And basically her father gets murdered under really suspicious circumstances, and they basically charge one of her parents' really trusted graduate students with her father's murder, and Marguerite and another one of the graduate students called Theo decide to go after the murderer, but he has escaped to another dimension. It's so crazy. I love the concept of this. I love books like these kind of sci-fi books which deal with travelling through different dimensions and like theories about different dimensions, and it's so interesting. I'm not great at science, but physics was the one that I was the best at, and like out of the 3 sciences that I studied, and I find it really fascinating, but it takes me a while to understand things, but it's kind of an interest of mine, and I know this book probably won't be highly scientific. I'm actually halfway through it at the moment, but so far the whole thing is fascinating me, and I think the concept is amazing, and I'm really enjoying it. I really wanted to not be disappointed by this because I had such high hopes. But so far, so good, and I just think it's really great, but it will be in my February wrap-up. And then the next book was another one that I've been wanting to buy for ages since it was released last year, and it is Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rash, I believe is how you pronounce it. This is a YA fantasy book, and it's the first in a trilogy, like A Thousand Pieces of You. I don't really know too much about this, like the kind of synopsis. I just know that there's 4 kingdoms and they're based on different seasons, and that the kingdoms are war or weren't at war, or one of the kingdoms does something and it sparks off a war, and then there's the main character is from one of these kingdoms and she has to go on some kind of quest, which is all I know. That might be completely wrong, but I've heard amazing things about this, and I think the cover's really gorgeous as well, and it has a really nice spine, and also under the dust jacket it has this really gorgeous thing, and it's so beautiful. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. Again, I've got really high expectations just because I've heard so many good things, so hopefully I won't be disappointed. And the next book was kind of an impulse buy, but it's another YA fantasy, and it is The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury, and this was literally just released this month, but it was really cheap on Amazon. I'm trying not to buy from Amazon at the moment, but Snow Like Ashes is only available on Amazon in the UK. That's like the one site which I trust, well not trust, but like buy from, that was selling it. So this is $4.50 on Amazon, and I couldn't resist, but I'm trying to buy the majority of my books not from Amazon at the moment, which is a whole nother video. But yeah, I bought this, and Melinda Salisbury is actually friends with Alice Oseman, who wrote Solitaire, which is like right there on my bookshelf. And Alice has talked about this quite a few times on her blog, and I've just heard really good things about it from her and also from other people. And it's basically a YA fantasy book about a girl called Twila, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and in her world she basically lives at court, and it has this poison within her skin, so she is the executioner. So she basically has poisonous skin, but then she's supposed to marry the prince, but then a new guard comes along, and I think they might fall in love or develop some sort of relationship, and it sounds so good. It kind of sounded like a cross between Throne of Glass and Shatter Me, and I really love both of those series. I don't know how similar it's going to be to either of those, probably not very much at all, but the kind of synopsis sounded like that to me, and I think this cover is really beautiful as well, and yes, I'm really excited to read this, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. And then the next, I also bought a box set this month, which compromises of 4 books, and they're all really heavy paperbacks, so I'll try holding them up. And it is the 7 Realms series by Cinder Williams Chima. This is like a classic YA fantasy, high fantasy series, and I read The Demon King last September or last October, I believe, from the library, but I hate the UK covers, so I decided to buy the box set of the American covers, which I think are so much nicer. I'll show them to you now. Because I really enjoyed the first book, and I think this series is going to be amazing. A lot of people really love it, and I really enjoyed the first book. So I'm just going to go through the covers for you. So the first book is The Demon King, which is the one I have already read. The second is The Exiled Queen, this is probably my favourite cover just because of like this like landscape on the bottom. And I have the third one is The Grey Wolf Throne, and the fourth is The Crimson Crown. And these are just really good books. The synopsis kind of is crazy, but it follows dual perspective. There is a princess, and it's set in a queendom, so it's kind of and it works on a matriarchal system, with the leadership roles, which I find really fascinating. So there's Anna, I believe her name is where is it? Reza Anna Mariana, who is like the princess heir to the throne, and also a thief called Hans Alistair, and it's about them two and their journeys and kind of their problems, and then their paths collide, and it all kind of turns into this massive issue about a pendant, and it's got magic involved, and they are so brilliant. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm so excited to continue on with the rest of the series. But these paperbacks are like weighty. I feel like I'm doing a workout when I hold them up. And then the last two books I bought secondhand but online from Abe Books, which is also owned by Amazon, but it's kind of like eBay in that it has individual sellers. And the first one is one of the books that I've been meaning to read for a while, and I haven't been able to get from the library, but it's on like the very bottom of my TBR list on GOODREADS, and it is Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac by Gabrielle Zevin. I've read Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin, and I didn't really enjoy it, but I just kind of felt a bit meh about it. But this is, a lot of people really enjoy this, and also Ariel Bissett loves this book. It's one of her favourite books, and I trust Ariel, and I just think this sounds interesting. I want to give Gabrielle Zevin another shot because her other books sound interesting, and this one kind of appeals more to me than Elsewhere does. And it's basically about a girl who has amnesia, and she can't remember anything. She can remember things, but like her emotions and her memories have all kind of disappeared, and it's about her trying to regain them. And it just sounds really good. I really like the UK cover. I think it's really cute, and kind of I like all the little doodles on it. And then the very last book I bought this month was like so cheap, and I basically bought it for new, but it was 67p, which I guess works out at about $1 in American currency, and it is Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. I am just slowly collecting all of Brandon Sanderson's books. If you guys are familiar with my channel, you'll know I've read a small amount. I basically read the Miss One books and the Arithmetist. So I wanted to read this, and I'm also participating in Year of Cosmere this year. And this is June's book, I believe, May or June, because doesn't take place in the Cosmere, which is where Brandon Sanderson's high fantasy books take place in. That is the universe which they take place in, and this doesn't take place in this, but there's like a break month where we're reading the two non-Cosmere books, and this is one of them, and this is the first in a YA kind of sci-fi dystopian trilogy. The second book's also out, so I'm really excited to read this. I mean, I'm not excited to read this as like his other fantasy books, but I just love Brandon Sanderson. I really like everything he writes, so I'm sure I'll enjoy this one too. And it kind of sounds a bit like Vicious to me. I don't know why. I think it's kind of because it's about superheroes and supervillains, and that just reminded me of Vicious for some reason, by V.E. Schwab. But I'm excited to read this, and I'm just so pleased I got it for like 67p, and it's like brand new. It's incredibly amazing, and of course the UK Brandon Sanderson covers are just gorgeous. So those are all the books I bought in February. I also bought two more, but I ordered them from my local bookshop, so I'll just include those in my March haul because they haven't arrived as of yet, so they probably won't actually arrive until March. And yes, I hope you all had a lovely month. Let me know what books you bought in February, and I'll see you all soon for another video. Bye!